vampire. I have no other identity beyond that. I don't know when or how I was born. I don't even know how old I am. All I know is that blood is my only obsession. My thirst for blood drives me from one place to another. The path I walk now is also guided by that scent of blood. My chest burns with thirst, a constant hollow ache that never truly fades. I have no fixed appearance. Wherever I am, I take on a form that matches the surroundings, something unnoticed, something unimportant. I love damp, wet, dirty places. That is why my favorite place is the body of a human or an animal. The insides of their bodies are soft, wet, foul-smelling, filthy, and at the same time warm with the heat of blood. I can live inside them for many days, and through them I place my hunger. By my will, they sink their sharp teeth into others and drink blood. They don't even realize they are doing it for me, because once I enter someone's body, their brain obeys only my commands. In other words, I take control of both their body and their mind. That night, while I was walking, everything felt dull and exhausting. Snow weighed heavy on the ground. The sky hung low and colorless. Then it opened and freezing rain began to pour down. I didn't feel like walking anymore. Inside me, the thirst writhed and twisted in agony. So I slipped into an old farmhouse standing alone at the edge of the forest. The building leaned slightly, like it had grown tired of standing. Its windows were dark, except for one narrow slit of light near the back. I flowed through the cracks in the wood, through the gaps beneath the doors, and into the warmth inside. As I moved through the shadows, I noticed the smell first: blood. Not fresh, but frequent. That glow came from a lab. Inside, metal cages hung from iron hooks, each holding restless bats. They twitched and rustled as if they sensed something unnatural nearby. Their wings trembled, their hearts raced. They knew I was close. The lab was warm. Heat lamps buzzed overhead. The walls were stained with old splatter marks, poorly cleaned. Instruments lay scattered across a metal table, some rusted, some sharp, all used. Well then, my task was clear. I needed to rest, and for that I needed a human. And then I heard footsteps in the hallway, slow, uneven. A man entered the lab holding a lantern. He was middle-aged, thin, his beard unkempt. His eyes were sunken and red from exhaustion. He smelled of fear, sweat, and disappointment. He muttered to himself while checking the cages, numbers, notes, half prayers. The moment he stepped fully inside, his heart rate spiked. He sensed me, but not consciously. I moved. Entering a body feels like sinking into warm mud. Skin gives away. Muscle parts, bone offers no resistance. I slipped into him through his back, threading myself into his spine, climbing toward his brain. He gasped. The lantern slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. He collapsed to his knees. For a moment, his mind screamed. Then I closed my grip. Quiet. His breath steadied. His heart slowed. His thoughts dulled, pushed aside like something no longer needed. I wore him. Standing up felt strange at first. His joints ached. His hands shook slightly. But the warmth of his blood wrapped around me like a blanket. Through his memories, I understood everything. He had lived here alone for years, studying bats, blood disorders, immortality. He believed something ancient lived in the forest, something that could be drawn out with the right conditions. He had been calling to me. Outside, the storm worsened. Snow swallowed the farmhouse. Roads vanished. Cell signals died. No one was coming. I locked the lab door. We worked through the night, checking instruments, preparing syringes, logging meaningless data. The bats screamed themselves worse. Then headlights appeared outside. A car had slid off the road and stopped near the farmhouse. Two people stepped out, a man and a woman, young, cold, lost. I smiled using his face. I opened the door. They were grateful, too grateful. They didn't question why a stranger lived out here. They didn't question the cages or the smell. I invited them inside. It didn't take long. I took the man first. A quick bite to the neck hidden beneath his scarf. He collapsed quietly. The woman screamed. I entered her body next. For a moment, I occupied both. It felt expansive, powerful, like stretching after a long sleep. I fed deeply that night. By morning, the farmhouse was quiet again. I left the scientist's body near the lab table. I left the couple buried beneath the snow outside. And I stayed. Weeks passed. Winter tightened its grip. More travelers came. Snowmobilers, a lost hiker, a family whose car broke down. Each time I fed. Each time I grew stronger. The scientist's notes piled up. His final entry was written in shaky handwriting. Something is living through me. I found that amusing. Eventually, his body began to rot. I discarded it. I moved on to others. Spring came, then summer. The farmhouse remained. Years passed. The locals spoke of disappearances, of animals drained of blood, of a cursed stretch of road. They blamed wolves, cultists, anything but the truth. I adapted. I always do. Right now, I am somewhere warm, somewhere crowded, somewhere safe. You might be listening to this on your phone or in your car or alone in your room at night. You might think this is just a story. That's fine. Most of the people I feed on think that too. Because the thing about me is, I don't need teeth anymore. I only need permission. And you have already let me in. I didn't believe in vampires. Not the cloaked aristocratic kind, not the ones with fangs and accents. Where I grew up, vampires were just something old people whispered about when they thought you were not listening. But there were stories. My grandmother used to quote something she would read in an old book, something she said came from Eastern Europe. These vampires were corpses who went out of their graves at night to suck the blood of the living. The victims grew pale and wasted away, while the sucking corpses grew fat, rosy, and well fed. She would laugh after saying it like it was ridiculous. She'd stopped laughing the year people in our town started dying. I live in a rural place, small enough that everyone knows everyone, isolated enough that when something goes wrong, it festers quietly. The cemetery sits on a hill overlooking the woods, old and mostly forgotten. Some of the graves there are so old, the names have worn away completely. The first person to get sick was Mr. Harlan, who lived alone at the edge of town. People said it was cancer. He lost weight fast, his skin turned gray, his eyes sunk into his face. He swore someone was coming into his house at night. Everyone assumed it was confusion, hallucinations. He died 2 weeks later. Then it happened again and again. Each time the symptoms were the same: extreme fatigue, sudden weight loss, anemia so severe doctors couldn't explain it. Every victim complained of pressure on their chest at night or pain in their stomach, like something had been feeding from them while they slept. And every time someone died, someone else looked better. I didn't notice it at first. No one did. But once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. The dead didn't look dead. At funerals, the bodies were wrong, plump, healthy, pink in the cheeks. One of the undertakers even joked that Mrs. Calder looked better than she had in years. No one laughed. My grandmother was the first to say it out loud. "They are not resting," she told me one night as we sat at her kitchen table. "They are feeding." I told her she was carrying herself. She leaned in close and lowered her voice. "Real vampires don't sleep in castles. They sleep where they were buried." She made me promise not to walk past the cemetery after dark. I wish I had listened. I was driving home late one night when my car stalled near the hill. No cell service, no houses nearby. I decided to walk. The moon was full, the cemetery gate was open. That alone should have sent me running. As I passed the iron fence, I smelled something metallic, sweet, like old pennies and wet earth. Then I heard it. A sound I still can't describe properly, wet, rhythmic, like someone drinking through cloth. I froze. Near the oldest graves, I saw a shape crouched over something on the ground. At first, I thought it was an animal. Then it stood up. It was human shaped, but bloated. Its skin stretched tight and shiny like it was filled from the inside. Its face was familiar. It was Mr. Helen, or what used to be him. His eyes reflected the moonlight like a dog's. His mouth was red, not dripping, soaked. Behind him lay a woman from town, still alive, barely. Her stomach was dark and bruised, like something had latched onto her. Mr. Helen turned his head slowly toward me. He smiled. His teeth were not sharp. They didn't need to be. I ran. I didn't stop until I was home, and even then I locked every door and window. I didn't sleep. I watched the sunrise from behind my bedroom door. The woman survived. She lasted another 3 days. At her funeral, her body was thin and gray. The next funeral after that, rosy. I went back to my grandmother's house. She already knew they are the ones who grew rosy, she said, the well-fed dead. She told me the old belief that if a corpse looked healthier after burial, it meant it was feeding. That the only way to stop them was to destroy the body completely, burn it, scatter the ashes. We weren't brave enough to do that. No one in town was. People started moving away. Houses emptied, but the cemetery stayed full. And every month or so, someone new would get sick. I left town 5 years ago. My grandmother passed last winter. I went back for the funeral. As they lowered her into the ground, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. Her cheeks looked pink, too pink, and when the dirt hit the coffin, I swear I heard something move underneath. If you live near an old cemetery, pay attention. If the dead look healthier than the living, leave before they get hungry again. I was losing sleep, not the normal kind where you stay up too late or wake up once or twice. This was different. Every morning I woke up more tired than the night before, like something had been taking pieces of me while I lay there. I work as a freelance translator, and in 2022 I was hired to help with historical documents tied to an archaeological dig near Pien, Poland. Most of what I translated was church records, burials, illnesses, accusations written in careful ink. One name kept appearing: Elżbieta K. She wasn't listed as a criminal. She wasn't executed. The document simply said she died under precaution. That phrase bothered me. When I visited the site, the grave had already been reopened. She was buried face up. A sickle had once rested across her neck. It was gone now, catalogued somewhere else. What remained was the mark it had left in the soil, curved and precise. There was also a padlock, or rather, there had been. The chain was still there, broken at the hinge. The archaeologist guiding me said it was probably damaged during removal. He didn't sound convinced. The first night I stayed near the site, I dreamed of pressure on my chest. I couldn't see anything, I couldn't move. I just felt weight. Careful, patient weight, like someone kneeling without hurting me. When I woke up, my throat burned. The second night, I dreamed of her face. She wasn't decayed. She wasn't monstrous. She looked like a normal woman, except her skin was too full, too healthy. Her eyes were wide and reflective, like they were catching light that wasn't there. She watched me sleep. By the third day, I looked sick. The archaeologists noticed. One of them joked that I was catching something local. I went back to the documents. That is when I found the margin note, written by a priest, barely legible. She feeds without anger. She does not tear. She leaves them breathing. That night, I woke up before she touched me. I don't know how I knew she was there. I just did. She stood beside the bed, barefoot, dirt still clinging to her feet. Her neck bent forward slightly, as if she remembered the sickle that used to wait for her there. She didn't speak. She placed her hand on my stomach. I felt cold spread outward, deep and hollowing, and then she leaned down, not to bite, to drink. I passed out. When I woke up, it was morning. My door was still locked. No signs of entry, no marks on my skin. But when I stood up, my legs shook. I checked the mirror. My face looked thinner. My eyes looked wrong. I tried to leave the next day. My car wouldn't start. That night, she came back, closer this time. Her hand rested on my chest, and for the first time she spoke. You were not supposed to open me. Her voice wasn't angry, it was tired. I returned to the grave at dawn. The soil was disturbed. The pit was empty. They never found her remains. They blamed theft, vandalism, anything but what we all knew. I left Poland a week later, but sometimes I still wake up exhausted. Sometimes I smell damp earth in my apartment, and sometimes, just before sleep takes me, I feel careful weight sitting beside me, patient, waiting.